Hello, and welcome to Cinecrisis. It's sometimes surreal to remember that Hanna-Barbera was still producing new content with their original marquee characters all the way up to the mid-1990s. The studio, which had been bought and sold multiple times over its existence, was at that point most recently acquired by Turner Broadcasting in 1991, a move which would in a few short years be the company's undoing when Turner merged with Time Warner. But regardless, besides continuing on with brand new concepts for animated series, Hanna-Barbera was producing made-for-TV movies and specials that showcase their original star characters. One of these specials, which often falls under the radar, is the delightful Yogi the Easter Bear, released in first-run syndication on April 3, 1994. It's nearly Easter, and Jellystone Park is getting ready for an influx of children to celebrate the holiday with its annual Easter Jamboree. Ranger Smith is in charge of the festivities and is especially anxious because his boss, the Supreme Commissioner, will be in attendance and bringing his grandkids with him. The Commissioner has a rather extreme reputation, to say the least.
I don't need to remind you the Commissioner got his job by putting out forest fires with his bare hands. And the last state park he didn't like became a trailer park. Oh, no!
So of course, nothing can go wrong. But as per usual, Yogi Bear is up to no good and using the park's Easter Bunny costume, eats the entire supply of candy meant for the kids. Furious with Yogi as this may cause the end of his career, Smith decides it's off to Siberia with the bear. But Boo Boo comes up with an ingenious idea to save his buddy's hide. What if they can produce the real Easter Bunny to replace the eggs and candy that Yogi ate? Ranger Smith of course doesn't believe in the Easter Bunny, but Yogi and Boo Boo figure it's worth a try. For guidance, they seek out one of Jellystone's most senior residents, the Grand Grizzly, for leads on the Easter Bunny's whereabouts. He directs them to look for the big ears in the sky, which turn out to be a mountain with two rabbit ear-shaped peaks with a house on the cliff. Reaching the Easter Bunny's residence by borrowing a hot air balloon, the duo find the house has been ransacked and the rabbit kidnapped, but a trail of jelly beans leads them to the bunny's captors, Polly and Ernest. Polly is an insane and greedy capitalist who's obsessed with plastics.
Everything I own is plastic, right? Right? My factory, my shoes, my clothes, my teeth, my hair, even my underwear. Right? Plastic sofas, pets, vegetables, clothes, toilets!
Boss, you're scaring me.
He wants to get the Easter Bunny out of the way so that he can capture the entire Easter market by forcing everyone to buy his plastic eggs. After rescuing the Easter Bunny from being immersed in boiling plastic, the bears need to restock on candied eggs. So the bunny leads them to the magical Easter chicken. Yeah, I'm not kidding. It's literally a chicken that can produce massive quantities of colorful candied eggs. But first, they have to get past her guard dog, who won't allow anyone past him except for the Easter Bunny.
No salesmen, solicitors, political pollers, fundraisers, autograph hounds, cookie-pushing scouts, or holiday carolers. Only the Easter Bunny. And you don't look like the Easter Bunny to me.
And of course, the Easter Bunny has suffered some accidental Yogi-induced injuries and can't climb the hill to get to the hen house. Eventually, working their way past the dog, Yogi and Boo Boo actually rescue the Easter chicken from the goons and bring her with them and the Easter Bunny back to Jellystone, escaping from the clutches of Polly and Ernest. And in doing so, they of course save the day, Ranger Smith's career, and Yogi's place in Jellystone Park. Yogi the Easter Bear truly marks the end of an era, as it was the last original Yogi Bear production by Hanna-Barbera. Although Yogi and Boo Boo would appear again in 1994's Arabian Nights, their segment was not a typical Yogi Bear adventure in the least. Aside from the John Kricfalusi homage shorts produced in the early 2000s, the next official Yogi Bear project wouldn't be until the live-action movie from 2010, and the less said about that one, the better. As it stands with the voice cast, Daws Butler, the original voice of Yogi Bear, had passed away in 1988, completing his work for all three of the Yogi Bear films in the Hanna-Barbera Superstars 10. He was succeeded by his protege, Greg Burson, who took over duties first on the new Yogi Bear show in 1988, and all subsequent appearances of the character until his own death in 2008. Reprising his dual roles of Boo Boo and Ranger Smith is veteran HB voice actor Don Messick, who would ultimately suffer a devastating stroke 2 years later in 1996 and pass away 1 year after that. Also present for a very entertaining and manic performance is Charlie Adler as our villain Polly.
Are you thinking? I told you not to think! I am the smart one, remember? Now just shut up and eat your lunch!
Adler notably played Buster Bunny on Tiny Toons, as well as both title characters on Cow and Chicken, among numerous other roles in dozens of cartoons since the 80s. Rob Paulsen, another animation voice legend, provides the voice of the Easter Bunny. With a wide array of characters to call his own, Paulsen most famously gave life to Yakko and Pinky on Animaniacs, Raphael on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Haji on the later incarnations of Johnny Quest. And finally, there's also a fun cameo for comedy legend Jonathan Winters as Mortimer, the very nearsighted and bumbling assistant to Ranger Smith.
So what time do you get off tonight, honey?
Mortimer!
Right here, Ranger Smith, sir.
Regarding the production crew, there's a few people worth pointing out. Obviously listed as executive producers are OG studio founders Bill Hanna and Joe Barbera, but I think at this point their roles were mostly ceremonial. Credited as producer and story contributor is a man named Davis Doi, a name you'll recognize if you pay attention to enough HP content from this era. Doi's career in the animation industry goes back to the late 1970s, working as an animator for Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings before coming to Hanna-Barbera as a character designer and design supervisor on a lot of their 1980s output, including The Smurfs, Richie Rich, and Pac-Man. He later went on to become a supervising producer and writer, working on the first 4 Scooby-Doo direct-to-video movies of the late 90s, starting with Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. Serving here as director is Robert Alvarez, another Hanna-Barbera regular who began with the studio in the late 70s as an animator on shows like Challenge of the Super Friends, Casper and the Angels, and Scooby and Scrappy-Doo, before becoming a full animation director in the 80s. Alvarez continued his directing career well into the Cartoon Network era and is even still working in the industry to this day. What's also really interesting about Yogi the Easter Bear is that it offers us a glimpse at what really could have been the future of Hanna-Barbera as an animation studio moving forward into the 90s and beyond. The studio still had its finger on the pulse of making quality children's programming and was, as per usual, adapting with the times. But most importantly, they never compromised the integrity of their core characters. For instance, in this special, almost all the side characters are off the charts, zany and crazy, acting in ways we really wouldn't expect to see in a classic Hanna-Barbera show. And that's fine because they offer a stark contrast to our straight characters like Yogi and Boo Boo. It helps to maintain their purity and integrity, which is truly wonderful. And indeed, as a result, a lot of the laughs here come courtesy of Paulie and his plastic obsession.
Low maintenance, low in calories, it's an everything substitute for wood, steel, rubber, even skin! And best of all, it's cheap!
Boss?
As well as the over-the-top intensity of the Commissioner.
America loves to camp. I love to wake up to the smell of burning spam and powdered eggs cooking over a campfire. I love to see campers staggering out of their tents, suffering from a night of sleeping on hard, rocky ground. And that is what camping is all about.
If only Hanna-Barbera had retained some kind of autonomy in the midst of all their corporate mergers and not been folded into Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network, they might have stayed off these beloved characters' unfortunate descent into irrelevance. And while Easter specials aren't exactly as fondly remembered as, say, Christmas or Halloween specials, there are a few genuine classics out there, especially in animation. So I think it's fair to consider Yogi the Easter Bear as a potential entry for that list. It's well-paced, has heart, and manages to come up with a rather clever idea to get Yogi and the gang into an Easter adventure, and that's well worth an annual viewing. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave a comment below, and we'll see you next time.